Halloween 2018, it's not perfect, but it definitely will provide you with more than one good scare this Halloween. Hey everyone, I'm Jim and welcome back to My Movie Obsession, a place for film obsessives. If you are just as obsessed with movies as I am, you need to subscribe to this channel because you're in the right place. So Halloween 2018, the much anticipated sequel to the first Halloween. Wiping out everything. None of it happened. Nout. Nada. Zilch. And this was a really highly anticipated movie. When it first was announced, I wasn't that into it because I'm a big Halloween H2O fan. Now recently, things about H2O I can't defend. I mean, The Mask is a load of dog shit. It's a load of dog shit, and you know, it kind of ruins H2O. H2O would be improved tenfold if this piece of shit was rectified. Look at it. Pathetic. So I was kind of clinging onto the Halloween H2O bandwagon because I was just a big fan of the movie. I've got a lot of nostalgia for the film. I still like it. So I was just sitting there going, you know, I don't want to see Halloween H40. But after watching it, I don't feel like this is a remake of Halloween H2O. I feel like this movie, I liked it. I liked it. I need to watch it again. I have problems with the film. I think it's a flawed, good entry. Well, it's not even an entry in the Halloween series. So it's a flawed, good sequel to the 1978 original. There's so many timelines at the moment, my head just explodes, so we'll just call it a great sequel to the first movie. It's not even an entry in the Halloween series. So I'm going to talk about some of the things I liked. First off, I actually was scared by this movie. Now, I wasn't expecting to be. Now, I recently watched Halloween 1978 in the cinema. Yep, I loved it. It was an amazing experience. I watched it for an anniversary showing. And I was just as creeped out. I felt like the 13-year-old kid where I sat there and watched Halloween on a fateful Halloween night when I was 13, watching the TV, glued to the screen, terrified. And although I wasn't absolutely terrified watching Halloween 1978, it did creep me out again. And I was thinking, none of the sequels ever scared me after that. I kind of reserved the fact that Michael Myers can't be scary. Yeah, he can still be scary. In this film, he shits me up. So yeah, having Michael scary again was a big deal for me because it was completely unexpected. I did not expect to be on the edge of my seat with this film, and I was. For the majority of this film, I was on the edge of my seat. I feel like Michael is presented as very morbid in this. A real effort is made to present this character as just this emotionless, terrifying void of a person. You know, and you've really got to take your hat off to the filmmakers because they made a point of that, you know. They tried to go back to Halloween 1978. They tried to present him as there's no way of getting through to him. There's nothing human, there's nothing, but at the same time, he's a human being who's lost all his humanity. They got that kind of mix, which the sequels kind of ignored and just had him more and more going into the zombie territory, and eventually into Rob Zombie territory. The bathroom scene that's in the trailer is fucking terrifying. This scene, he's the ultimate boogeyman in this scene. He's really, I really like the bathroom scene in Halloween H2O. I do, because they don't do anything. They don't have him do anything. Here they have him do something. You know, he just walks in front of the mirror in H2O, which is a cool scene. I really respect that scene. Here, tell you what, if you haven't seen this film, I'm not going to spoil it because it's an absolute petrifying scene. And I'll be honest, I was scared. And you know, they really shot it in a way that really makes you think of Michael as this force, this unstoppable killing machine, you know, that will do anything to anyone. You know, he's got no morals left in this whatsoever, if we ever thought he did have any left. Now everyone knows in the trailer you see Michael, you don't see him without the mask, you don't see his face, but you see these podcasters going to see him at the sanitarium at the start of the film, and you see him looking away without the mask on, and somehow he's just as scary when he doesn't have the mask in this as he is when he's got the mask. And I think it's because you're seeing him as a man, and it adds this even more level of why is this guy silent, why is this guy, how has he got this way? Because he's a man, you know, he is a human being. And I think that's one of the achievements of this film, showing Michael. I would have always said don't show Michael without his mask, and I stand by that. If you show his face, it's going to ruin it. But the fact they show him from behind, they show him from angles, because it's a man, it makes him all the more creepier, because it's just, he's a serial killer, you know, so he's human, but he's just got this evil inside of him that makes him more than a man, but he is a man, you know. It just really bizarre to me. And I love that scene where the podcasters go and visit him. It's a wonderful start to the film, directed so well. It's a little bit silly in moments on that scene, but overall I think everything's executed really well. It's a really good way to start the film. I guess what I mean is, in the silliness, is the way that he shows the mask to him, as you see in the trailer. That was a bit strange to me. Why the mask has this power over Michael when he wore it once 40 years ago. The whole seeing him in the midst of the sanitarium, seeing him outside, little glimpses of his face, is a very well directed scene, and it gets tense, and there's an explosion of tension in that scene, and it's a real scene with a payoff, and it's a great introduction to the film. Obviously Michael's mask looks great in this, and you know what, that fear came back because of the mask. I forgot, when I recently watched Halloween 1978, I forgot that mask does scare you because it looks into your soul. Here we see the mask from 1978 a bit deteriorated, but it still has that coldness to it, and I feel like when you've got the correct mask, it elevates things so well. And the way they present Michael in this, I think I have a few issues, but there are moments where they really nail it. They really do nail that style of 1978 Halloween. I'm going to get into, when I go into my negatives on the film, they could have presented Michael a bit better, but the fact that the way they present him, certain shots, certain moments are fantastic. So the fact that it scared me is a crowning achievement of this film, because I haven't been scared of Michael for years. But for me to place this up there with Halloween 1978, there's a few things I'd change, which I'll get into with how Michael's presented. Jamie Lee Curtis is brilliant in this. I think it's a fantastic performance, I really do. I'm just going to have a little rant about Jamie Lee quickly, because she has pissed about in the lead up to this film. There's so many videos of her on YouTube talking about Halloween H2O and Halloween Resurrection. She basically says she did it on the specific condition there would be no sequels, you know, and she was appalled when there was going to be sequels. You know, she wanted to end it, she wanted to finish it, and she goes on a rant, you know, saying how that's why she doesn't like those films, because they did sequels. These directors and filmmakers said from the get-go, we're doing sequels, we are doing sequels. So Jamie Lee shat on Halloween H2O because it had sequels, and you happily do this one, you just give it a pass. You don't mention that there's going to be many sequels, and it annoys me because the sequel thing was already set up. So this is definitely not, don't get me wrong, I like the film, but this is definitely not what Jamie Lee made it out to be, which is the final confrontation, the final Michael Myers. It's not. They've already announced sequels. So why did you go on YouTube and say, I'm so annoyed they did sequels, I wanted it over. Well, the film you're doing, it's not over, Jamie. Bloody hell, love. But her performance is fantastic. You know, one of the great things about this is Halloween 1978 wasn't really about anything, and that was one of the beauties of it. But when the sequels went on, they struggled because they had to try and make it about something, and they went the wrong route. They tried to make it supernatural, about cults, about all sorts of things. This is a movie that's about something that makes sense. It's a movie about the trauma of a killer attack, basically, and how it can affect generations of the people you know, yourself, your partners, your children, you know, everything. It can affect every aspect of your life. Leading up, I was a bit sceptical because I thought, you know, why would she, I mean, I still have this issue. Why would Laurie be so affected? You know, because they want to have their cake and eat it in this film, which I'm going to get to. They want us to think of Michael as the Michael of the sequels. They do, because he has no history of escaping. He escaped once. He has no history of, really, I mean, he was just a serial killer who escaped tonight. He was creepy, he was sinister, he was this and that, but 40 years on, if he ain't come by 60, love, he ain't fucking coming. And he's happy in his fucking seclusion. Weird thing about Michael Myers is, he never tries to escape, which I guess that makes him a little bit scarier as well. But, like, what was his plan? Like, he's getting on. You're getting on, mate. You're getting ready for the fucking rocking chair. You know, Michael's going to be sitting in his fucking cell, rocking back and forth. Old man Michael. And and he's in this film. He has no intentions of escaping. You know, he only ever escapes by mistake. So, what's Michael? He's just like, I might be evil. You know, if you let me out, I'll be evil, but I'll make no effort to get out, and I'll also won't care about getting out. Like, what is this? Like, what is Michael? He's like this comatose person who just sits there and then, there's a chance to escape. Well, hey, why doesn't he care about escaping, you know? And the fact that he doesn't care about escaping lends no credence to Jamie Lee's character, that she cares so much that he'll escape, because he has no desire to. He only escapes because by mistake, as always. You know, this Michael could escape if he wanted to, because it's Michael Myers. He can escape whenever he wants. All he has to do is fucking pull his fucking handcuffs. He can do it. He's more strong than the Hulk. And he never tries to. And that's weird to me. Never attempt to escape. But at the same time, it worked in 1978 because he was like a child sitting in a sanitarium growing up. He kind of knew one day he would escape. So maybe they're trying to repeat that. But he's fucking 60. Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64? That's Michael in this film. So he probably would have never tried to escape. So that doesn't lend much credence to Laurie's thinking that he's going to escape. It's weird to me. The massive gap and having no sequels does this film no favours, because they're trying to have their cake and eat it. But Jamie Lee does really well with it. You know, you really feel her pain. And I do buy that a woman would be deeply affected. Maybe not thinking he was going to escape, but just deeply affected. You know, the H2O Laurie was probably my preference in how she's affected. I just think that in this film, Jamie Lee's performance is so good. She makes me believe how she's affected. You know, and there's some harrowing scenes in this, and there's some, you know, touching scenes in this, and it's about something. And there's several touching moments in this where you genuinely see the pain in Laurie's face, the tiredness, the voids, the stress, the anxiety. And in a world where we're finally coming out about mental illness and the long-lasting effects it can have, I'm really behind this, and I was really invested, and I really cared. I cared about the whole family. You know, the actresses playing Laurie's daughter and granddaughter, you know, they weren't the best, but I didn't have a big problem with them, and I think they did convey very well their opinion of their grandmother. And I do like how the granddaughter has an affection that her mother doesn't have for her grandmother. And there's a touching scene, several touching scenes, where the granddaughter tries her best to reach out more than her mother does, because her mother's just cut herself off basically from Laurie. One of the things I like about this film is that Michael's very random in it, and I did have a problem leading up to the film. I was thinking, why would Michael go back to Laurie? But in this film there's a kind of ambiguity of, did he go back to Laurie? And that's an interesting idea, because Laurie spent her life obsessing over Michael and thinking that he specifically thinks of her and is going to come back for her and is zeroed in on her. In this one, you don't know. You know, they encounter, but you don't know whether Michael was after her. Michael was just kind of a random killing machine in this film, as he was in the first movie. He only kills who he sees. You know, he has no special attachment to Laurie. He just saw her come to his house in 1978, and he just saw her and zeroed in on her. That's kind of how Michael is in this. He's just kind of basically walking around Haddonfield killing people. He seems to have no target, but they leave it in there that maybe he does have a target for Laurie. It's a big ambiguity, and that's an interesting idea. You know, how someone could get so obsessed with a serial killer, and the serial killer, you know, the victim thinks that the serial killer thinks of them, and the killer just doesn't. You know, and that adds even more to the evil of the character. He doesn't even remember his victims. There are moments of brilliance to the direction. There's a scene where this kid is in a yard. He's just been with Laurie's granddaughter actually, and she's left him, kind of blowing him out. And he's in the yard, and Michael's kind of in the shadows, in the darkness. A good callback to when we see Michael's mask creeping through the darkness in the 1978 film. Very well done scene. Great use of lighting. Great use of Michael in the scene. You know, there are loads of moments where Michael was used brilliantly. You know, I really like the closet scene. I do. It was shown in the trailer, which is, you know, if I hadn't seen this in the trailer, if I'd seen no trailers, that closet scene would be fantastic, because it's great. Everything about it's great. The boogeyman in the closet, they literally use that idea, and it's a really well done tension building scene. And I love how it's a child who sees Michael, because one of the things I love about Halloween 4 is that seeing Michael through a child's eyes is even worse, because he'd be literally the boogeyman. And in this film, a child first discovers Michael before he's discovered in the closet. It's a child who's seeing the boogeyman, and it just gives Michael this, legitimacy as he is the literal boogeyman. He's coming out of the closet. Children are seeing him. Tommy in 1978, where he sees him out the window and no one else can see him. It's just Tommy, and he's trying to tell people the boogeyman's out there. And that's what I like about this. It's only one moment. It's only one moment where a child sees him, and I think they could have had more moments where children see him, or children maybe have a child character like Tommy Wallace, because I like that. I like seeing Michael through a child's eyes. Makes him even more scarier. The final confrontation is also great. It's really well done, really tense. I have problems with it as well, so I'm going to get into my negatives now, but I don't know where I'd place this with the Halloween sequels. I'm probably going to do a video ranking the Halloween series. I think that would be a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm kind of trying to work this movie out slowly. So I'm now going to talk about the negatives of the film, because there are a number of negatives which stop me from loving this. Like, I like it, I like it quite a bit, but I don't love it, and I feel like it's a little bit of a missed opportunity, and I feel like it could have been better. One of the problems that I have with this film is they're trying to have their cake and eat it. They're trying to pay tribute to every Halloween film in this, and it just comes across as overkill. As I say, they present Michael as really well in some scenes, and then in some scenes they're just trying to pay tribute to all the sequels. So we see him too much, which is one of the problems with the sequels. So there are moments where we see him in the style of 1978, and then there are moments 5 minutes later where we see him loads, and this is just weird for me. One of my main problems with the sequels is seeing Michael too much. Here he's like really out in the open, he's really interacting with characters at times, and that's not what I want from Michael. I like it when he's in the shadows where you don't really see him as much. And in this film, I'd actually go as far as to say that you see him more than Laurie Strode. You see Michael loads in this. You see him walking past characters in full view, just around characters in full view, and it just makes him look a bit silly, because Michael Myers needs to be the boogeyman in the background. He started to look silly in the sequels where he's out in the open so much, and it doesn't make sense to me how they're so adamant about paying tribute to the original movie and resetting the timeline, that they just deliberately try and make this as much like the sequels as they're trying to make it like the first film, and it just doesn't work, because the Michael of the first film isn't the Michael of the sequels. I like the sequels, but you only get glimpses of the original Michael in the sequels, and they try and have their cake and eat it. They're trying to present him in certain scenes, which they do very well, as the Michael of 1978, and then the next scene he's Michael from Halloween 4 or Halloween 5 or Halloween 6. Don't try and pay tribute to films that you don't really like just to keep the fans happy, because it makes the film uneven. And that's one of the problems. It makes the film uneven. 1 minute Michael's the original Michael, next minute he's like Rob Zombie's Halloween Michael. He's ferocious with his killing, which works in some moments, I must say, but then he's like really, really brutal, and no cold and calculated motives at all. He's just wild man Michael. The next scene is like Halloween 4 Michael, where he's insanely strength, and he's doing things that he didn't do in the first film. So they're trying to mix everything together, and that throws me off. That's one of the biggest problems I have with this film. And another problem I have with this film is that in the lead up they were talking about going back to Michael being a human being, which they do. In some scenes he's presented as human with a supernatural dangerous edge. In other scenes in this film he's the indestructible killer of the sequels. So make your mind up, don't just say things and then not deliver. And I think that's one of the problems with this film. The filmmakers have said so much and they've set their intentions so much, and then at the last moment they've gone, oh no, we've got to make it like the sequels, we've got to make him like Jason like and Freddy like, because otherwise the fans won't come and see it. They're kind of trying to serve too many masters with this film, and it makes it uneven, it makes it strange, it throws you off. For example, we see Michael walking too much. Now I like the scene where it follows Michael into the It's in the trailer where he follows Michael into the garage and he gets a hammer, and you see his entire walk into the film. But that was more like Halloween 2. But I don't like seeing Michael that much. It was a good scene for a slasher movie, but I don't want to be behind Michael all the time. I like it where he's lurking behind a tree, or he's looking up from, the next door neighbour's garden in the first film, or where his face is slowly coming out of the shadows, or where he's, just in the background. And they do have scenes like that, as I said, but to follow him, I didn't like it in Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2. You follow him so much, and it's it takes away all the mystique. And everyone's raving about this tracking shot that follows him in, and he commits his murders. Yes, he's morbid, yes, he's scary in those scenes, but he just seems like any other slasher killer. They're trying to build some tension, but you don't need to be behind Michael all the time. He needs to be a creature of the night. That's where this film lacks. It has scenes of him being the creature of the night, but not enough. Not enough. The idea of Michael is there. The mystique of Michael and the atmosphere of Michael is what's lacking. And as I said, I like lots of things they do with Michael in this film, but they let it down in a lot of moments, in my opinion. And that is one of the things I do agree with reviewers I have seen of this film. They say there is a lack of atmosphere. And there is a lack of atmosphere. And they don't capture that in this. They make a fast-paced version of the original film with lots of elements of the sequels thrown in. There is also a lot of jokes in this which fall flat. They really, really do. I do think the one child character in this, who is being babysat, who sees Michael, and then the closet scene happens, is really, really funny. But he's too humorous when Michael is shown. He's too humorous when Michael is killing his fucking babysitter. He is still cracking gags. Seriously, mate. Get to the police station, leg it down the road crying, then I'll believe you've just been attacked by a murderous psychopath. I don't believe you've been attacked if you're running around cracking gags as your babysitter's getting stabbed. Running around like Chris Tucker in Rush Hour. Another problem with this film is there's a really ludicrous character who makes the characters in Halloween 6 look credible. Yeah, why are you paying tribute, because that's what this character seems to be, to Halloween 6, which is a sequel people didn't even like? So you're so desperate to pay tribute to the sequels, you'd include stuff from the ones that people didn't even like, and the elements that people didn't even like. This character is ludicrous. This character makes you want to pull your hair out, and it makes the movie goofy. It gives the movie a really goofy tone, and I really didn't like it. It takes you out, and it's kind of a section of this movie. That's what I'm saying. This movie's like a section of different sections of things. There's good, bad, strange, goofy, amazing. It's all over the place in some ways, this movie. The culmination is really, really good. Really a lot of tension, but the ending to this film is bollocks. Absolute bollocks. And I'm dead serious about that. The ending we've seen 9,000 times in every slasher movie. Not just Halloween, every slasher movie. It's stupid, it's abrupt, it's badly executed. It has a really, really daft moment with Michael Myers where he looks like my cat when my cat wants to go out or my cat wants some food. You'll know what I mean. There's a moment where Michael looks like a cat. He looks like a fucking helpless puppy or a cat. Just ludicrous to see one of the greatest killers in movie history looking like a prat, a cat or a prat, either way, and it makes him look stupid. And a lot of moments in this film do make him look goofy and stupid, and a lot of moments in this film make him look great. So everything doesn't hang together perfectly for me. This is why I just like the film, and if you're interested in me doing like a spoiler talk about this film, I'm considering doing it, because it's very, very hard to discuss this film with no spoilers. There's so much shit. There's so much shit to discuss. This is probably one of the most examples of recent years of me liking a film that's really, really flawed, being a fan of a film that's really, really flawed, and being angry at the film at the same time. I guess you could say Batman v Superman, but now I more dislike that than like it. No, maybe this film will go down in my estimation when I watch it again, but I just had a blast watching it. I really did have a blast watching it, despite the issues. And if that can happen, the filmmakers have done well. If they made a film riddled with issues, and you still come out of it happy, satisfied, and you still take your hat off to a lot of it, that's almost like just as big an achievement as making an amazing film, because you managed to bypass all the problems in the film and still make someone enjoy it. What did you guys think of Halloween 2018? Let me know in the comments below. I want to discuss the movie with you guys. If you're obsessed with movies just as much as I am, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I normally do reviews of superhero movies and retro movies, but I also do movie discussion videos like this. And I'm just very passionate about films. I can talk about them for hours, so if you're just like me, you should subscribe. Let me know down below what you thought of this video, what you thought of Halloween 2018. Talk to me. Thanks for watching everyone. I'm Jim and I'm obsessed with movies, and I will see you next time.